everybody, my name's Madeline, and if you're new here, my channel focuses on sewing, traveling, and eating food all over the world. Today I am going to be making a Cinderella inspired dress in a day. Currently I'm in Austria, and originally I had intended to only make 2 dresses for this trip, and this dress, which inspired this video, happens to be the 3rd dress I made last minute. Okay, so the first thing that I started working on when I made this dress was seeing how much material I had. So originally I had actually intended to use the sheets I thrifted for this project and make a Edwardian Alice ensemble. That didn't turn out, so I instead decided, you know what, let's make a Cinderella dress. So for the inspiration of my dress, I was kind of looking at a combination of the 2014 live-action Cinderella and the original 1950s animated Cinderella, both done by Disney. I kind of wanted to incorporate the neckline of the 2014 Cinderella, but still keep kind of the characteristic puff sleeves of the original one. And I wanted to mix it together and not really create a formal ball gown, but create something kind of cottagecore themed and make sure I could still have the beautiful spinning aspect to it without the length and the amount of underskirts required. So for this project, I first started out with the skirt. So, fun fact, if you're ever interested in making a quick and easy circle skirt without having to measure the height and distance, use an old circular tablecloth. So I've been using this technique for a couple of my projects now, and pretty much what I will do is I will fold it into fourths and then place it on the desired material I'm using. In this case, it was just down to my mid-knee, and so I decided to cut my skirt a little bit longer, so I added the additional inches. It saves you the hassle of having to measure the full circle and then cut the waist of the circle the same you would a normal circle skirt. So my waist measurement happened to be 4.52 inches for the radius, and so I ended up cutting that out. And then after that was finished, I decided to cut out a few odd shaped pocket pieces and attach those to both sides of the skirt so I could have nice little pockets once the dress was finished. After that, I pretty much sewed up the sides with the pockets included. I can't believe how well my makeshift pockets turned out. Now that this is done, all I have to do left with the skirt is hem it, and I ended up doing this later on in the video, so now time to move on to the bodice. Yay! So my first order of business after I finished sewing the skirt was to work on the back of the bodice. For the back pieces of the bodice, I ended up using the McCall's pattern 4681. I cut out the back pieces, made sure to mark each of the darts, and then I sewed the back pieces up and started working on the front of the bodice. For the front, I just cut out the pieces that were from the pattern. However, instead of the sweetheart neckline, I cut a scoop neck and sewed darts in place like the pattern instructed. So, like I said in the beginning, this dress was inspired by both the 1950s and the 2014 Disney Cinderella. And so, as you can see, if you've watched either one of those movies, the necklines are fairly different, but they both kind of have a sweetheart neckline slope sort of thing. Anyway, so I had to figure out how to drape this like cotton material and include some of the dimensions of the 2014 neckline, which had butterflies and little crystals throughout the bodice. So my first attempt ended up not working. I had originally thought that by pleating a rectangular piece of material and putting one on each side, it would work out. It did not. And so in the end, I ended up literally taking a hunk of fabric, parting into 3 sides, squishing it together so it created kind of some haphazard pleats, and then sewing down each side. And it ended up working fairly well, and then it kind of gave this airy look compared to the uptight starched look that I had originally gone for, and I think it suited the dress a lot better in the end. I then attempted to cover the bodice in pearls, but I ended up finding out that none of my needles heads could fit the inside of the pearl, so instead I transitioned to some small crystals, and it ended up turning out really pretty, and I hand sewed each of them to the bodice. Woohoo! Now that the front piece of the bodice is completed, I sewed the front to the side pieces and then the sides to the back. And after hand sewing the rough edges on the front of the bodice, I was pretty much done. Last step I did before moving on to the sleeves was sew the bodice and the skirt together. For the sleeves, I used the same pattern as the bodice and added elastic to the bottom. I repeated this process with the top. And finally, I attached the sleeves to the dress. For some final details, I created a waistband using some leftover material. Because I ran out of time, I ended up spending the first 3 hours I was in the car hemming the skirt. I think it turned out well in the end. Now that I've finished the dress, let's talk about a few details I wish I would have changed a little bit. So if you guys noticed, I didn't have a whole lot of time near the end of my project, so I ended up hemming the skirt in the car. What you probably also saw is a very poorly done zipper job, which if I would have had any extra time, I would have completely redone the zipper in the back of the dress. What I did like that turned out well with this project is I really like the pearl details, even though in the reveal video they're not as visible as I would have liked. Overall, I'm really proud of the dress. There's definitely some quirks to it if you look really closely, but I think it turned out really well for doing it in a day. And I think now that I know I'm capable of making a dress in a day, that I can go about a lot bigger and prettier projects with a little bit more detail and know that I can finish things in a tighter time frame than I originally thought. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you look at my channel. I have a bunch of new videos coming out soon, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye!